What is up everyone, Cappuccino here, and something I've always wondered, especially in this current play state with barrier heavy tanks, is which support hero has the most shield break and how do they compare relative to each other? In this video I set out to answer this question by testing it out myself and putting each support hero to the test. In terms of methodology, in this video I'm going to run a separate trial for each support hero and have them deal damage to a 2000 HP Reinhardt shield until it breaks. From there I will record the time it took to destroy it. Then I will divide the 2000 HP shield barrier by how many seconds it took to destroy the shield to get a rough estimate of shield damage per second. Now that we got that figured out, let's get to the fun part. We're going to first start out with Ana, who I think would probably take the most time out of most of the support heroes. I also personally don't advise anyone to use Ana's primary fire to break shields, considering you're better off healing and or dealing damage to enemies that aren't behind the shield since you have a scope with precise aim. Looks like we're coming in on the shield break, and it looks like it breaks around 26 seconds, which is actually a lot quicker than I thought. Alright, let's move on to the next healer. Now moving on to Baptiste. I feel like Baptiste is one of those heroes that can deal a lot more damage than what his gun looks, feels, and sounds like. The little 3-round burst actually does quite a bit of damage, especially when pairing with Amplification Matrix. Looks like Baptiste is coming in on about 19 seconds to destroy Reinhardt's shield. Brigitte is probably the least practical out of all these heroes, considering her melee attack already goes through shields, but I thought it would be a fun experiment to do anyway. And as you can see, if you didn't already know, melee damage actually does do damage to shields as well as the targets behind it. Wow, this is actually taking a lot longer than I expected, and I actually thought her flail does more damage. But it looks like she's about to finish at about 34 seconds. Now moving on to Lucio. In hindsight, I could have combined his secondary fire with his primary fire to maximize the damage, but I'm not really sure if that would have been fair considering in the real game, you probably wouldn't always be getting that close and be using your secondary fire to shield break. Even though Lucio doesn't deal as much damage, unlike many supports, he can deal damage while still healing at his maximum potential. Looks like Lucio is finishing around the 29-second mark, which looks to be about average. Mercy, similar to Ana, falls into the bucket of impractical support heroes for shield break, and I believe there was a calculation done before that it is more effective to damage boost your teammates rather than deal damage with your pistol. Damage boosting also allows you to heal quicker through toggling your heal beam rather than switching your weapons to heal a teammate. Mercy looks to be finishing around the 26-second mark, which is surprisingly a lot quicker than I expected, and I believe is less than what Lucio took. I can already predict that Moira will be the slowest out of all the heroes just by inherent knowledge of her damage output, and by the way the animation feels on a shield, it probably isn't doing that much damage. Since we have some time, I wanted to show an unrelated trick called the Fade Boost, which will allow you to reach high ground as Moira on certain maps. To execute this, you will fade into a piece of the map architecture that is around shoulder height or lower, and then press the jump key right before you hit it while in fade form. This will allow you to reach more advantageous positions. This isn't that easy, and it took me a good 30 minutes to master, so I suggest you try it and look up guides to help you get this technique down. As expected, Moira took 40 seconds, which is the longest out of all support heroes so far. Last but not least is Zenyatta, whose damage potential is definitely not underestimated. I expect this to be the fastest out of all the heroes, and I also want to note that we aren't taking into account headshots, which drastically increases the potential damage output of many of the heroes. But for the purposes of this video, it's all about pure shield damage. And it looks like Zenyatta clocks in at about 20 seconds. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, the results. This is how the data pans out. I also put soldiers damage per second on here to give you perspective on how these compare with a DPS hero. Looking at the data, the first thing that stands out to me is the shield break potential of Baptiste is on par with Zenyatta, if not slightly higher. This surprised me considering how weak the weapon sounds and feels when firing, but it turns out it does a lot of damage. If there isn't anyone else to heal as Baptiste, you should definitely be spamming your primary fire as much as possible. I was also surprised to see Mercy and Ana dealing such high amount of damage. That being said, they are unable to heal while dealing damage, so I advise prioritizing healing rather than damage unless you don't have any better options. Overall, I think the biggest learning I got out of this test is the potency of Baptiste's shield break and that it is well worth it to spam his primary fire on a shield while alternating healing. Hopefully you found this quick video helpful and educational, and if you see anything else interesting from the data, let me know in the comments below. In addition, if you have any other burning Overwatch Q&As you want answered, let me know and I might consider it for the next video. Thanks for watching and see you next time.